My name is Cindy and I'm an academic library director at a small institution in the state, Central Methodist University. And the greatest thing for me about being a librarian is being able to help our first generation college students. We have a large population of students that have never had a family member go to college before, so they don't know what to expect, and they come to our campus and they feel a little lost. And we make sure that the library is a place, a safe space for them, and also a place where there's no fear in asking a question, no matter what kind of question it is, what a credit hour is, how they get a textbook, how they deal with a roommate, all of those things. We make sure that we can provide those answers.
We work on bringing the library truly to everyone and making sure that we have stuff for everyone in the community. Whether that is, whether you can afford books or whether you come in and you need our services, that's what we're there for, and we bring our services out to everyone.
I work in an outreach position, and so I'm going out to senior living facilities and doing programming. And it's always really special when you can see the direct impact that a library program that was brought specifically to a person in a senior facility, especially a memory care unit, when they go from being totally disengaged, totally non-responsive, to being responsive and engaged, and you're able to have a conversation with them that they might not otherwise be able to have because of something that the library did.
The experience I had, it was not my own experience, but my mother, when she started to have cataracts and hadn't had the surgery yet, she lost her ability to read, and that was so important to her. And through the federal program of lending audiobooks, she had the opportunity to read again, and she'd always been a 1 or 2 book a day person, and this was just wonderful for her life, because while she still retained some independence, she was no longer driving, and having those books coming to her every day was just a wonderful thing.
So I work for the Daniel Boone Regional Library System, and probably the project that I have found most rewarding recently has been working on implementing a book bike service. This service is actually for our 2-county service area, and we went to a mobile food bank. And one of the things about that particular experience for me was connecting with people who were not necessarily even had library cards and didn't even know some of our services were out there in a really non-traditional way, sort of a service outside the library walls. It was really one of the most uplifting experiences I've had as a librarian in a professional librarian capacity over the last 7 years.
So one of the great things about libraries is that they provide access to things like technology that patrons might not otherwise be able to afford or experience for themselves. And recently we did virtual reality in the library with a relatively inexpensive machine, but we were able to let an older patron experience riding a roller coaster, which she had never done in her long life. And so she was able to sit down in a chair and comfortably watch what it would feel like to go on a roller coaster. And the oohs and ahs and just the look on her face whenever she took the goggles off really showed the importance of that access to technology that she would not have ever picked up on her own. And it was just a really cool experience. It's not something she could read about in a book necessarily, but it was still that access to information.
I'd like to give a shout out to the Wolfner Library, because several years ago when my mother was in her last days, we were able to get a listening device from the Wolfner Library. My mom would read the Bible every day, but of course in her last days she could not do that. We were able to get a copy of the Bible reading on audio from the Wolfner Library, and so she was able to listen to the Bible during her last days. And let me tell you this, in her last moment, she was listening to the book of Psalms, which was a very appropriate scripture verse. And we just so appreciated, everybody in the room, including the doctors and nurses, were in tears because they were so moved by it. And I was able to tell everyone, the Wolfner Library made this available, and it is available to all Missouri residents. So thank you very much, Wolfner Library.
One of the greatest parts of my job is connecting children with books, and the Racing to Read grant opportunities that the State Library has been able to provide such a door opener. We've put books in the hands of children who've never owned a book before. So when you come to see them, I have partners such as Parents as Teachers, Educare, WIC, partners with us as well. And when representatives from those groups go to visit the kids, they'll come running to them with that book in hand again. Some of them are just looking worn slam out because the kids have read them over and over and over again. But it's the first book they've ever owned. It's the first something that's theirs. Some of these families are homeless and they move from couch to couch in our community. The face of homelessness is a little different in the suburbs than it is necessarily in the city. But they take that book with them and hold on to it and cherish it. So we're opening doors and building readers from the very start.
In academic libraries or college and university libraries, we are often still fighting the misconception that libraries are just books, when Webster University serves students all over the globe. We teach information literacy in the classroom, so that is how to do research and use information safely and effectively. And that is important not just for school, but in our daily lives. With all of the media that we consume, being able to discern what's real, what's fake, and everything in between is terribly important right now. And in college libraries, we train the next generation of journalists and nurses and medical researchers and lawyers who will be driving these fields forward in the future and make all of our lives better.
Libraries are important to me personally because when I was a senior in high school, I worked at my local public library, the Quincy Public Library in Quincy, Illinois. My mother, who was a teacher, told me that she had a mom from one of her students who was upset because her little girl didn't like to read, and the mom was a heavy reader. So my mom said, take her down to the public library on Saturday and talk to my daughter. So they did, and I took her around the library and I pointed out this book that I liked, another book that I liked. She took out a couple of books and she became a reader. And it was a wonderful experience. So I decided this is the way I want to live my life. So I got a career out of that situation because I became a librarian. I have never been a reader's advisory librarian, except on the fly, but that gave me a career. And my career has allowed me to have so many experiences I would never have had I not become a librarian. And that's why public